In December 1996, a tragedy shocked the United States and forever defined the concept of an unsolved mystery. The death of 6-year-old JonBenét Ramsey, found lifeless in the basement of her own home in Boulder, Colorado. JonBenét's story isn't just about a lost child. It is about a complex web of fame, obsession, and institutional failures that continue to fascinate to this day. And even decades later, essential questions remain unanswered. Before we continue, if you want to dive deep into true crime cases that explore not just the event but also the human and societal failures behind them, consider subscribing to the channel. Here, we don't just tell stories, we analyze the context, challenge narrative, and reflect on consequences. JonBenét Ramsey was an ordinary child. At just 6 years old, she was participating in beauty pageants, a world that mixes premature glamour with intense pressure. Many simplistic accounts describe JonBenét merely as an innocent little star, but that ignores the environment she grew up in. Her life was constantly observed, photographed, and judged in competitions, exposing her to criticism and expectations no child should enter. It is impossible to fully understand the tragedy without recognizing the role that a culture obsessed with child fame played in shaping this context. This is crucial, not to blame the parent or the environment, but to question how a society that celebrates children as entertainment product distorts what is safe, natural, and healthy for them. On the morning of December 26, 1996, JonBenét's mother, Patsy Ramsey, reported her missing, claiming they had found a ransom note demanding $2 million. The police were called, but from the very beginning, the case was surrounded by inconsistencies, miscommunication, and media speculation. A critical question emerges here. When a crime happens inside a well-off household with seemingly attentive parents and surroundings at hand, investigations tend to unfold differently than in underprivileged neighborhoods. One of the first lessons of this case, social privilege, visibility, and bias can shape how justice is pursued. The ransom note itself is one of the most intriguing elements of the case. Some speculated it was written by the family, while others pointed to an outside perpetrator. Forensic analysis later revealed inconsistencies that only deepened the confusion. And here begins the deeper reflection. In high-profile crimes, public narrative often merges with reality, and the media shapes perception of guilt before the police have reliable answers. JonBenét's story is as much about her death as it is about how suspicion and theories are constructed in the public sphere. Over the decades, numerous suspects were considered: her father, John Ramsey, her mother, Patsy, JonBenét's brother, extended family members, even neighbors. None of them were conclusively proven killed. The lack of solid answers fueled conspiracy theories, but it also reveals an important critique. The initial investigation was plagued by serious procedural errors, contaminated crime scenes, and hasty decisions. When critically analyzed, it shows that often the real obstacle to justice isn't the complexity of the crime, but human familiarity in how we respond. Another point worth reflecting on is how the media handled the case. The spectacle surrounding JonBenét's death turned the family into characters in a public drama, distorting public perception and creating a narrative that confused guilt with speculation. It's a classic example of how crimes can be exploited as entertainment, harming both the investigation and the memory of the victim. Above all, JonBenét became a symbol of how society and media can fail the most vulnerable children. Beyond human failures, structural issues remain relevant. Boulder police faced political pressure, national attention, and accusation of bias. Forensic labs and evidence handling were criticized, and even today, there is no consensus on what truly happened that night. This case forces us to question how often does justice fail, not because of lack of law, but because of human error, bias, or outside pressure. JonBenét Ramsey's tragedy is not just personal, it is social, institutional, and cultural. Reflecting on this case also means confronting the impact of childhood fame, media pressure, and the public obsession with a quick solution. JonBenét Ramsey didn't die in vain. Her story compels us to think about ethics, responsibility, and care for those who cannot protect themselves. It challenges us to look beyond rumors, sensational theories, and headlines, and ask ourselves, are we truly learning from past mistakes? And so, as we revisit this case, the question remains, who really took JonBenét Ramsey's life? Was it an intruder, a family tragedy, or something we may never know for certain? The truth remains shrouded in layers of speculation, critique, and human error. And it is precisely in this space of uncertainty that we find the most important lesson: the necessity of thorough investigation, critical reflection, and empathy. If you are reflecting on this now, consider subscribing, not just to learn the fact, but to question, analyze, and understand the stories behind the headlines. Stories like this one, which teach us so much about justice, society, and humanity. JonBenét Ramsey lives on in the question we continue to ask: how can we protect the children from early exposure, public pressure, and invisible danger? How can we build a justice system that prioritizes truth over a spectacle? And perhaps most importantly, how can we maintain empathy for others when the media and public opinion trying to blind us with theories and assumptions? This question enters not just a criminal mystery, but as urgent reflection on how we live and how we care for the most vulnerable. In the end, JonBenét isn't just an unsolved case. She is a mirror reflecting what society must examine about itself. And while we continue seeking answers, one thing remains clear: her story still has much to teach us. Goodbye, see you next video.